My name is Cameron, and I used to live in a 3-story brick building from the 1940s. One of those narrow, tucked-away structures on the edge of the city that looked like they belonged to a different era. I moved into Unit 302, a small one-bedroom at the end of the top floor. My only neighbor was a quiet woman named May in 301. The rest of the floor was just brick walls and old radiators. I chose the apartment for its peace. No footsteps above, just the creak of my own floorboards and the occasional groan of the building settling at night. At least, that's how it was for the first few weeks. One night, while brushing my teeth, I heard a knock. Not at my door, on the wall. It came from the wall opposite my bathroom mirror, the wall that separated my apartment from the hallway, and, I thought, May's unit. I paused, toothbrush still in my mouth. Knock, knock. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just ... deliberate. I rinsed, listened, and heard nothing else. Figured it was plumbing or old pipes shifting with a cold. But the next night, it happened again. This time, while I was in bed. Same pattern. 2 knocks, a pause, then silence. It didn't come from the hallway side. It came from within the shared wall. I knocked back, and something answered. 3 knocks, slower, like it was listening. In the morning, I asked May about it when we passed in the stairwell. She looked at me like I'd asked if she kept chickens. "There's no wall between our units," she said. "Our apartments are on opposite sides of the floor. There's an old stairwell between us, sealed off years ago." I went back up and pulled out the building map from my lease packet. She was right. Unit 302 and 301 were on either side of the building. Between us, a shaded rectangle labeled maintenance shaft, former stairs. So what was the knocking? I decided to investigate. I knocked again that evening. 1, 2, and got no reply. But around 2:15 a.m., I heard it return. Knock, knock. Now closer to my headboard, almost like it had moved. The next day, I checked the hallway. The spot directly across from my unit didn't match the map. There was a narrow strip of plaster that didn't align with the brick pattern. I pressed it. It sounded hollow. A week later, I came home to find the baseboard under that strip cracked open. Just a little. Like someone had pried at it from the inside. I called the super, Mr. Durnell, an older man who always wore a dusty brown vest and smelled of basement air. "That part of the building's sealed off," he said. "You're imagining things. Probably rats. But rats don't knock." I couldn't stop thinking about what could be behind that wall. A stairwell, an old janitor's closet. I started measuring from my living room to the wall, 10 feet. From the hallway to the same point, only 6. There were 4 feet unaccounted for. I borrowed a stud finder and ran it along the wall. It beeped strangely, almost inconsistently, around the middle section. The device acted like it wasn't detecting wood or pipes, but something denser, something that moved. I lost sleep. Not because of fear, exactly, but fixation. I left my phone recording one night. At 3:08 a.m., there were 3 knocks, then faint breathing, inhumanly slow. I brought the audio to May. She listened, her face paling. "There was a tenant who used to live here," she whispered. "They bricked it up after he vanished." I asked the super again. He wouldn't talk. So I broke the wall myself. I waited until night. I pried off the baseboard with a chisel and started peeling away the thin drywall behind it. Dust choked the air. After an hour, I made a hole the size of a shoebox. Behind it, blackness. I pointed my flashlight. The beam caught tiled stairs descending, covered in dust. An old banister, half splintered, cobwebs thick as cotton. I widened the hole and stepped through. The air was warm, not old or musty, warm like breath. The staircase led down into what should have been the second floor, but didn't match any known layout. The walls were painted a shade of green I'd never seen, peeling but dry. Faint scratch marks led down the railing. At the base was a landing, one door, painted gray, unlabeled. I stood in front of it, then knocked. Lock. The door knocked back. I ran. I sealed the hole that night, screwed the board back in, covered it with plaster, pretended it never happened. But every night now, around 3 a.m., there's knocking. Different spots. Sometimes under the floor. Sometimes behind the kitchen. Last week, I came home to find a letter slipped under my door. No stamp, no return address. Just a piece of old paper. It said, "You opened the way. I remember your knocks." There's no more sleep now, because last night, the knock came from inside my closet. The house I moved into was older than I was told. The listing had called it a modest, early 70s renovation. But once I had the keys in hand and walked the creaking halls, I realized the bones of the place were much older. Maybe 1920s. The moldings, the cellar entrance, the slant of the floor. Everything spoke of an earlier, forgotten shape. It was a long, narrow house with 2 bedrooms upstairs and a study near the back that overlooked the woods. But what puzzled me most was a locked door under the stairs. No key fitted. The agent said it was a storage space long since sealed. I didn't question it, at least not at first. But on my second night, while unpacking in the study, I heard knocking. Not from the front door, not from upstairs. From behind the sealed door. It wasn't frantic, just rhythmic, for slow knocks. I stood at the railing above the stairs, holding my breath. The knocking stopped. I chalked it up to pipes or settling wood. But the next night, it happened again. Same time. It's past 11 p.m. 4 knocks. I pressed my ear to the sealed door. Silence. I knocked back. 3 quick taps. And I swear to you, something knocked back. The same pattern I gave. I backed away. Something behind that door had been listening. And it remembered. The following morning, I examined the edges of the door frame. The paint was thicker there, like it had been sealed multiple times. I tapped along the wood, hollow in some places, dense in others. That night, no knocking came, nor the next. I thought maybe I'd imagined it, until the 5th night. There was no knock. There was breathing. I heard it through the door, a slow inhale, exhale, like a person pressed against the wood. I didn't sleep. I started dreaming of the door. In the dreams, it was always open. The room behind it was dark, impossibly deep, and something stood just out of sight. I'd wake in a sweat, heart racing, my ears filled with echoes. I called a locksmith, pretending I wanted access to an old broom closet. He came that afternoon. "That's not a closet," he said, examining the hinges. "This door opens inward. The handle's reversed. So, what is it?" He shrugged. Could be anything. But the locking mechanism's custom. This wasn't sealed accidentally. He tried 3 different tools. Nothing worked. That night, I sat on the stairs and waited. No knocking. Instead, I heard scratching, faint, like fingernails, along the other side. I spoke aloud. "Who's there?" Silence, then a whisper, so faint I wasn't sure if it was real. "You are." The door shifted, not opened, but flexed, like pressure pressed from behind. The wood creaked. Then, nothing. The next day, I removed the drywall from the opposite side. There should have been a small triangular void behind the stairs, but instead, I found bricks, old, red, dusty, and in the center, a black mark shaped like a handprint. The wood near the base was burned. I researched the property, found records going back to the 1910s. In 1932, a man named Elias Graver lived there. The note said, "Declared missing, no body. Last seen descending into cellar, but there is no cellar, only that door." I knocked again. Nothing for a full minute. Then 3 knocks. But not from the door. From upstairs, I ran, left the house that night, slept in my car. The next morning, I found the front door ajar. Nothing was stolen, but every mirror had been turned to face the walls. I tried sealing the door with furniture, hammered boards across it, burned sage, prayed, but the knocking didn't stop. It just changed locations. Now it follows me. Sometimes, in a hotel room, I'll hear it, behind a bathroom wall. Sometimes in the apartment above mine, though no one lives there. Sometimes from under my bed. It's always for knocks. And when I dare knock back, it always answers, not with words, but with breath. And sometimes, lately, I don't remember being the one who knocked first. When my grandmother passed away, I inherited her house, a 2-story Victorian at the edge of town. Everyone said I was lucky, but stepping into it for the first time in over a decade felt more like entering a memory I didn't trust. The house had stood mostly empty since I was a child. My parents moved away after some family issues they never explained, and we never returned. I remember loving the house, especially the floral wallpaper in the upstairs hallway. It had these winding blue vines and faint gold birds. But when I saw it again as an adult, it felt wrong. The colors too faded, the shapes too warped. I decided to restore the house room by room, and I started with that hallway. While stripping the wallpaper, I found something beneath. A smooth metal shape, flush against the wall, hidden behind 2 overlapping panels. It was a handle, a solid brass handle embedded horizontally. No door frame, no seam, just the wall, and a handle that shouldn't have been there. At first, I thought it was a decorative fixture, but when I pulled it gently, the wallpaper gave way with a soft tear, and the wall shifted. A door slid open. It was silent, heavy, and revealed a room that wasn't on any blueprint. A narrow, carpeted hallway extended inward, lit by a faint amber glow. I stood at the threshold, unsure if I was violating some sacred family boundary. The air smelled like cinnamon and dust. Inside, the hallway bent gently to the left, ending at a door with no handle. Just a circle etched into the wood. On the wall, photographs were hung in neat rows. Every single one was of me. As a child, as a teen, sleeping, reading, standing in a hallway. Some I recognized from family albums. Others I'd never seen. In one, I was brushing my teeth. In another, I was turning my head toward the camera mid-blink. I looked up. The light above flickered. I opened the door with a push. It gave way easily. Inside was a small room with no furniture. Just floorboards, a mirror, and a single chair. In the mirror, I saw myself, but my reflection didn't move in sync. It sat, then stood, then stepped forward. My own reflection reached for the glass. I turned and left, heart pounding. The hallway was longer now. The photos were different. They showed me in that room. I ran back through the door, slammed it shut, and tried to cover the handle again with what remained of the wallpaper. I even moved a bookshelf in front of it. That night, I woke up to footsteps upstairs, but I was alone. When I checked the hallway, the wallpaper was peeled again, and the door was open. Inside, the mirror was cracked. I tried to ignore it, boarded up the wall, covered it in drywall, painted over it, but the house wouldn't let it go. Every few days, the paint would bubble, the wallpaper would reappear, the handle would return, slightly shifted. Then the photos started showing up around the house, on my nightstand, tucked in books, stuck behind cabinet doors, always of me. I had the wall torn down completely. Behind it, another layer of brick, smooth and untouched. But 2 days later, the door was back. This time, it opened itself. Inside the room, there were 2 chairs and 2 mirrors. Both of them watched me blink. Half a second too late. I was out in seconds, gasping, but the room hadn't changed. It just waited. Now, when I sleep, I dream of that hallway, extending infinitely, the wallpaper shifting like skin, the photographs replacing themselves. I tried burning it. The flames only reached the paint. The room stayed cool. But I saw a photo in the mail yesterday. No return address. Just me, standing at the hallway's edge. Behind me, the wallpaper curled slightly, and something else had found the handle.